So I'm going to start animating something like this, and so my thought process is I want to have a little more complex animation than just like animation appears. I think I want to segment or separate the star a little bit from the circle. I think I want the star to kind of either appear from the circle or like the circle to either start solid and then become segmented to be kind of cool. And I think I want to have some little particle effects that will kind of pop off. Like I want to have like the actual Tiger Mountain maybe like slide it and hit the word CrossFit, or they'll kind of just impact each other and the particles will appear. We can try something like that to start with, but I kind of have like a grand idea of what I want to do, and I need to actually see about implementing it. But all I know right now is that I need it to appear at this point at this given time right here, or at this. I just need it to look like this in the end. I also think I want to have a white background, not a shape layer, a white solid. It's so cold in here. All of a sudden. It's not prepping me for what's going on outside. It's gonna suck. You're gonna walk outside and be like, oh, it's just oppression. So I'm going to, as I did previously, just kind of set a keyframe somewhere down the line for mostly position, I think, and maybe some scale. Yeah, I think those two things is where I'm going to want it to sit. If you're really worried about that position and it kind of hitting that at that given point, you could also just kind of create a pre-composition and just duplicate it. Or just duplicate all these layers and pre-compose them and just have it eventually get to that point so you know it won't mess up. That's kind of a trick you could do. By that I mean take all this, duplicate it, and pre-compose the duplicate. And just call this like logo. Or I'll sell it. Tiger Mountain logo, and it's like a logo. Just have that sit somewhere over here so that whatever you do to this other stuff, and it should eventually get to that point. So it's kind of just like a safe area for those of you worried about messing up. I always am. So mostly because I'm going to really completely deconstruct this at this point. The first order of business, I think, is I want to work with this star stuff right here. So what I'm going to do is, first off, I think I always want the two of them to be together. And I think I want to be moving the circle around. So I'm going to make the star have a parent of the circle so that no matter where I move the circle, this will kind of always be there. And I want it to, I think, start in the center of my composition, which should be around there, or center-ish. Right around there. And I'm also going to shrink it. Okay. So it should, right now it's going to go do that. Mostly because I'm going to need one keyframe where it's going to be like this. So I'm going to open up my drop down. And let's set 2 keys for scale. So I'm going to have it kind of go about 1 second, and then we'll scale this down. Something like that, so that it'll just go whoop. And I want it to hold for a bit, so I could just copy these keyframes because I can decide later when I want it to slide over. So I'll just kind of say around 5 seconds maybe. Just giving myself some time to play with the animation right here without it constantly sliding to the other side. So, thinking about this. Do I want this to kind of come in as one, or do I want to mess with it? I think, because there's some interesting things you can do with the star as far as the contents are concerned. If I go to the Polystar path, I could actually create a bunch more points. And I could also adjust the inner and outer radius. I could technically almost make this a circle if I added more points. Could kind of be interesting, because what that means, maybe not that many points. Let's just keep it at 5. Because I'm wondering, just wondering, if it came up as a solid circle and then it came down and bloop, it blobbed into a star. Like, that could kind of be fun. So I'm going to maybe need to scale this up a scotch. Like maybe I want it to actually be like a fill. Oh, it's gonna be annoying. See, I broke rule number 1. It needs to actually be correct size. So the other thing is I want to also have this be a fill, or my trim path be filled in. So let's go to my circle. And what I think would be the easiest to do would be to, let's see, I could just increase the trim path a bit. Here. So now it's almost a blobby circle, or just a full circle. I think I just need to increase the scale a scotch more for the star. There we go. So that can be kind of fun, because then the next thing I could do is just have it kind of go bloop. I kind of want to create some sort of anticipation, I think, for when the star is going to form, because it could be cool if this, like, the circle was just there, but I kind of want to have like a little bloop, like it's actually doing something to make the thing convert to a star, because it's like birthing something out of itself, perhaps. So I could try and play with that a bit. Let's just first get comfortable with this sort of animation here, which I'm not super comfortable with. But I'm not really at this sort of polished pass. I'm still in this sort of conceptual, just like, is this an idea that will work? Do I understand like all the functionality of everything that I need to make this work? I'm not a big fan of that timing, but I'm not really sure. I still don't think I'm at the point where I need to worry about that. I think I just need to see if I can create the idea that I have in my head. Because if I spend so much time actually like messing with timing and trying to get this one part correct, what if this idea just doesn't work? Like, what if I go to the next step and it's a complete disaster and I need to completely reconstruct the entire thing? So I'm going to kind of just leave this as is, like, for this initial timing that really sucks. Because I want to make sure that I could at least get to the parts that I know are going to need some extra love, or just kind of get everything laid out in sort of a coarse pass or a rough pass stage. Some people might consider this like a storyboarding stage or an animatic stage, where it's just kind of getting stuff on here to help figure out what I'm going to do. So the next step that I would really need to worry about would be, as I mentioned, getting this circle to transition to that star, and then I could also figure out how I want to transition the trim path and what timing I want to have for that, because I do need to bring that trim path back. So let's tackle the first problem, which is getting the star. So I want it to kind of come up, but then I want it to sit for maybe like a couple seconds. So I'll just kind of set 2 keyframes for both position and scale. Just kind of give it a hold, and then I'll go up a little bit, and maybe I'll increase the scale a little. Not that much time. And then copy this key so it can be all like something similar to that. It's like anticipation. And I'm going to have to play with it a bit. And I want it to be, I guess, a lot more explosive. And when it hits this, I want the star to appear. I want it to feel like it kind of like bumped a little. So let's see if I can get the star to appear. So what's going to need to happen is I need to go to my star. It sucks working on a single. Oh no! Come back. It sucks working on a single monitor sometimes, because I need a lot of space for this. Let's see, I need to get the star open here, and the scale for the star open, because I did adjust the scale, so fortunately I have it there, which I didn't set a keyframe for. We'll figure it out. So under the polystar path, I need to get the inner and outer radius back to what I want. So let's set the keyframe here for inner and outer, and then start adjusting it back to what it was. And I did a bad thing and didn't set that keyframe. And I kind of want it to wobble a bit. So I might kind of come up a bit. I kind of go down too far. And then come back. Ooh. I haven't saved this yet, so save as. Project. So something super, whoop. Okay, feeling pretty good about that. Then my next thing I'm gonna need is gonna be that trim path getting revealed. But I think I want the trim path to get revealed as I want the star to, I want the whole circle to like rotate, and then the trim path to come about as it's rotating over into place. I think that could be kind of fun. So I'll need to take the circle, and I think I just wanted to do like maybe 2 revolutions or 1 revolution sliding back over here to this position here. So I already have the old position, so I might just drag these keyframes over a bit. Let it hold for a half second. And then not only do I want it to move, but I need it to rotate. So let me actually get rotation up and set an initial keyframe. And then, let's see, should go, I'm just going to keep them all in line for now. I want it to go in like the -2. It's a bit fast. -1. Maybe still too fast, so maybe like -0.5. I think I need to start it already kind of having been rotated a little bit. So I think I'm going to swap these keyframes out. Just say take this one, move it over here, and this one over here. So this would have to be... One. Yes. So I don't like the timing, but I'm just still working on effect. So I need to, as it's rotating, I want the trim paths to start to reveal themselves. So I'll go to the circle. Let's go to contents and try to find that trim path. And it was at 17, I remember that. So I'll set this keyframe, then go forward, and then set this to 17. So now it should happen. It should just start to kind of appear.
That is so cute.
So I'm pretty happy with that. That worked out way better than I anticipated, actually. I was like, wow, I thought this would be way harder. But it wasn't. It wasn't that bad. And so now what I could start to do is, I know this was the hard part. I want to make this part look good. Because this is the timing. I need to get the timing pretty good. Because I don't want to do too much with adding in the text of like Tiger Mountain and CrossFit if I'm going to have to do a lot of finagling in the front end of it. So I'm going to start spending some time going through and doing like a rough pass or a slight polish pass for this to kind of just clean up the animation. And also, like, when it starts, you can see a little green dot right there. So I want to make it to where you can't see it initially. So I can either just go to the circle and make the scale actually 0 because it's at 0.16. So just make that 0. So there, with no scale, it'll be invisible. So it'll actually come out that way. All right. And I also am not a big fan of the timing of this. I think I want it to blob out a little bit better. So what I'll do, and actually this is a redundant keyframe, and I think this is a redundant keyframe. Redundant keyframes are just keyframes that are there that aren't doing anything. They're just set. So I'm going to kind of have some fun with this. But the hard thing about doing all this is making sure that when I move keyframes around, that because I have multiple things keyframed in time to that I could see those things. So I'm going to open up these both and hit U on my keyboard so I can see all keyframes at once for the 2 things that I've been working on. So if I was to be like, oh, I'm going to slide this over, I would go here and here and slide them over so that everything would get moved together. Okay. Again, not a huge, I like the speed of this better, but I don't like the motion. Everything's very linear right now, so I'll select both of these and right click, do easy ease. That's a bit better. I'm also going to come into the graph editor for scale, and I can adjust this a bit. Like I like to do some overshooting. So I can kind of like come up and then slap down a little bit. You kind of can see that there. I might go, I'll really exaggerate a bit. Kind of see it really settling nice in there. Boop. I'm kind of a fan of that. And again, it kind of like comes up and then whoop, in and out. I'm going to make all of these keys some easy ease. So right click, easy ease. And I'm also noticing it's kind of like it comes up, bop, and then it just immediately rotates. I think I want it to sit for a second before it rotates. Like I don't want all this motion to happen at once. So I actually need to add a keyframe right after this, like right in here. So what I'll do is actually just shift over this rotation, a scotch, okay, and shift over the position change and the circle change. So I think, yeah, the scale, that scale there is redundant. So now it should hang out and then rotate. Because what it's going to allow me to eventually do is I want to have a little bit of anticipation and then go forward. I don't want it to just kind of slide. Okay? So I'm going to start focusing a bit more on this here. Because I think I want to have fun with like when the star forms. Like it kind of like is linearly transitioning. I think I want to try to like have it really kind of like whoop, pop in and out. Okay, so let's look at the scale here for a second. And we can zoom in a bit. Let's see. So I want it to also get smaller with it. And then kind of come up. That's a little too wobbly. Still too wobbly, so I'm going to flatten that out. All right, let's look at the star. All of that, linear keys. So I hit function F9, which will make it, will give me some tangents for it. So let's kind of work this angle. So the angle I'm trying to work is essentially just kind of trying to keep this as up as I can. And this is a very linear progression going on here. Playing with animation. That was kind of nice. It had that. We had a weird little wobble at the end. It went like, kind of just like snapped a little bit. That's kind of exactly what I was going for. Perfect. Okay, so I'm liking this timing overall. Then the next thing I need to do is worry about this rotation. So I'm essentially, like, what I'm hoping to impart to you is that I'm trying to tackle one problem at a time after I've kind of know this would be a successful like process or a successful animation. Because like a lot of people tend to kind of like work forth on something and try to polish something before they've actually realized it as far as storyboarding is concerned. And that's pretty much what I just went forth and did, was like this whole thing I wasn't sure about in my head. I saw it in my head. I didn't know if it would work. I wanted to make sure that I could achieve it in the tool, right? Before I go forward and actually process this or kind of fix this animation. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to also take this rotation, these rotational keys, and function F9, which is the hotkey for a Mac for turning this to an easy ease key, and go to the graph editor for this, and also add some little anticipations for this. So it's gonna skate a little bit, because I also need to put that on position. Again, function F9 for the speed. But what I also need to do, okay, is it's already going to be moving in that direction. So I need to kind of move it backwards a scotch, okay? So I will go to my position, my value graph, which is I think going to be for translate X because it needs to go backwards. And unfortunately, I can't actually get a Bezier for this. So I would actually have to come in here and add a keyframe to position that will actually scotch it backwards a scotch, just a little scotch. So it'll kind of, I want it to go backwards more. Oh, I made a mistake. It needs to start here and then go backwards. I went back too far now. Way too far. And I need to turn off the tangents for those because you kind of see what's happening. It's kind of dipping a little bit. So function F9, or excuse me, right click. If you want to get rid of easy ease keys, you just need to turn off Beziers. And it'll make it diamonds again. So it should have fixed that problem. So I think it's sliding too far back. And I'm not a big fan of that rotation. So this is where I'm just going to be playing with the timing of this all. So this is where it goes the most rotated. So I'm going to look at position, and it should be right around there. And I need to start rotating that forward very quickly. That was kind of nice. But I'm not a fan of how the actual things, the trim path opens. So let's go to this is the end section, and it's just, again, it's very linear. So I could just do function F9. Let's get the graph editor for this going. And I could just say I want it to really ease in. Or I could say go a lot more linear. I'm going to just kind of try to time it out. What happens if I go over under like that? Ooh. I want to go more. So it'll actually go wide and then come back. Overshooting's pretty great, y'all. I don't know if you knew. Okay. That's a decent starting point. I kind of want to go really big. It's like I want it to feel harder. It's a bit better. It's a stopping point. Okay, so good. I'm not going to mess with that for hours. But I now have like one of the main animation elements. which is like sliding it over, getting it into position. So then I got to worry about the rest of these elements, actually adding in Tiger Mountain CrossFit and how I want that to come in, because right now it's just there all the time. So clearly I don't think this should show up until this animation is done. So I'll actually trim out these clips by hitting Alt-right bracket to trim it, so that this animation can actually complete, and then that could come up. So I will not at all have that there. I think I'm going to keep this semi-simple for now. I think I'm going to have it kind of going to just meet at this point. One will come down, the other will come up, and I want to have particles kind of appear when they do touch. Okay, so I'm debating right now as to whether or not I want to do it a position-based animation, or if I want to do it based off the animator and have each letter go down at a time. I think I might do a mixture of both. I think that might be my best option. So again, I will set a default key position for these, which I do have. So I will move them right around here. And I think I want, ooh, that was good. I'm going to have it kind of start up here. I want to move them both together. And this coming here. And I'm just going to work on the overall timing. So I think we'll do, see, Tiger will come first. And then when that comes in, we'll have Mountain. And then CrossFit. Beautiful. Looks great. Timing. Let's work on that a little bit more. Okay. Oops. Let's look at the graph editor a bit. Yep. Let's do this one. Let's turn on the Easy Ease. And I think I really want it to kind of slam down. Same thing for this, function F9. And all of these I think are going to be, they're all going to be Easy Ease. Okay, I think I want Mountain to come in sooner. I think CrossFit needs to come in sooner. Okay. Cool. It's getting good. The only other thing I'm going to mess with is probably going to be the animate functionality. Or I think I'm going to have it to where like some of the last couple letters, like the Xbox logo, might come down a little bit more secondary for some like secondary action. But I also want to make it to where when CrossFit comes up, it'll actually like boop the Tiger Mountain up a little bit, and then it'll have to slam back down. So it'll actually kind of like so I'll have to stack that a little bit. So because it's going to come up, I want it to come up with a little bit more force. So let's adjust this motion. Scotch. Okay. And then I'm going to actually move it a little higher to encroach into that little territory and then come back down. Not too great. So adjust this timing. I think this one should be a linear keyframe. Timing. 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 I need the value graph. Okay, that's correct. Okay, leave that for now, but when this gets booped, it causes these two. I don't need that one. Causes these guys to boop. So they will also get booped and then come back down. Oops. Ah, hate that. But not at the same time. Just some timing adjustments. Okay, so that could be it for right now. Because what I want to add, though, are some particles that can also appear when they impact. Okay, so I want to do, or kind of just like steal, rather, one of those ideas from one of these examples. Because I don't know if you noticed, but there was a ton of particles getting used in various ways. There's that one. I'm specifically looking for, let me see, like this one, those little trails right there. This one here with particles kind of flowing everywhere. It was also on this one here, the glug. Ba-doink. Those little circles that kind of appear when everything taps a little bit. Bloop. I want some of those. That's what I want. So how would you go about making something like that? Well, it's this simple. I'm going to grab my ellipse tool, change this to a stroke, said stroke, okay, and turn off the fill, and then draw a baby circle. Turn down the stroke size. We did it. We made that shape. Woo, that was hard work. But some of you are like, no, that's not it. That's only part of it. So what I'm going to do from here, I'm going to make this a little thicker, easier to read. There we go. Is I'm going to pre-compose this into its own composition. So I'll say layer new, or layer pre-compose. And call this circle. Yep, circle. And I'm going to go into that pre-composition where she'll just have this by itself. So then what I'm going to do is just animate this doing something that I want. Okay, so most of those little animations here are kind of like, some of them are in bunches, but they're all kind of just like they appear and they disappear. And they all do it kind of semi-slowly. So like this one, just kind of bloop. They go in a straight linear line and disappear. Okay, so I can say, cool, position keyframe, set key, go forward in time, move up. Did it. Then I could, make this look a whole lot better, right? I needed to first fade in and fade out. I think I just wanted to fade out, so I'll turn on the opacity and set this to 0. Clearly though, this animation is not the best, right? So we all know what to do. Let's turn on that Easy Ease graph editor. Let me make sure I'm in my speed graph, or I'm just doing auto select graph type. And I could say, I want you to start really fast and then become slow. So it's going to go something like that. Great. I could also change this timing a bit, make it a little bit shorter. That seems more realistic to what was happening over there. So the other thing I'm going to want to do, if I go back to my logo animation, okay, so right now, the animation is right there. You can kind of see it happening because the pre-comp is right there. But also, look how big this clip is for that little circle. It's a pretty huge little clip, right? For me, if I want to be able to, like, okay, I'm going to click on that element. Nope, it takes me into my circle. So I want to make this circle pre-comp fit the size of this, right? So I just need to change the composition size, composition settings. It's also only 23 frames long. I don't need 10 seconds for this animation. So under composition settings, I will make this, instead of 10 seconds, I'll make it 0 and 23 frames. I'm also going to adjust the width of this. Let's do like 500 frames by 900. So it ends right around there-ish. So I can do, let's try to fit this a little bit better, maybe 800 frames, or 800. Oops, I don't want to hit enter. I just wanted to like preview it. Just do like 400, 300. 200. Starting to clip a little bit, but I'm just going to adjust this by moving the anchor point over, actually. You can use the anchor tool and actually just shift this a scotch. And I think I need to move it up a bit, like into frame. Kind of perfect. So now when I look at my logo too, it's going to be that big. And I can choose where I want it to actually engage. So I'm going to move the clip over here. And I want it to appear, not there, but right when this gets hit, right there. So I'll move this here. And not only that, but I want it to also happen right around that vicinity. And I can change my pivot point to say maybe like right around here. And I'll rotate it to maybe go out like that way. And I could also shrink it down. So maybe not right there. Let's move it. It's like right around there. Cool. And if I wanted a bunch of them, I could just duplicate this, move it over and offset it a bit. Maybe offset the timing a scotch. Maybe not that much. But I could also put an effect on it. Color correction, tint, and I could say map white. Let's just make it a black. We could just change its color, or I can make it gray. Black would kind of work. Maybe I'll put this behind the word CrossFit so that it'll kind of come out from behind it. And maybe I don't like circles, right? This is a CrossFit logo. Maybe, what if they were kettlebells and dumbbells instead of circles? Because it would actually fit the branding a little bit more. So I could draw one myself. Kettlebell graphic tee. Or I could be like, look, it's already made one for me. Thanks, Google. You're great. That's a pretty big kettlebell. Ooh. That one's already out? Mm-hmm. I'm good at finding ones that fit my needs. And then I could look up dumbbell. I got dumbbell. Ooh, dude. Right there. Is any of these? Ooh. Getting good at this, y'all. Yeah, they're tiny, but this is also tiny particles, so I don't care. So I will put these into my assets folder. Drag them. Or, guess what I can do? Get ready. I'm going to go into my circles. Got my animation right there. Here's a quick trick for y'all. I want to change out this circle. Actually, I don't know if this will work, unfortunately, because it's a shape layer. You could, technically, if I just made this a shape, have the animation get overwritten with this. Boom. But what I could do, kind of simply, is just drag this into here. And it's unfortunately black, so you can't see it. Let me change composition settings, make the background white. So there's that dumbbell. Shoot, shoot, Shazam, Shazam. Copy this animation to this layer. And I need to adjust the anchor point as I did previously. Shoop. Let's get rid of you. Sweet. So now, it's a little silly looking. I could, hold up. I'm going to go back to here where I put that effect. Which one did I put on? This one. So I'm going to map black to, guess what? Green. That's why it's awesome. Because I can just change the colors. I think this needs some like rotation because it seems pretty boring. So I think I'll also have it be rotating. Just try like one revolution. Oh, wrong layer. You're going. Should go on here. 1. It's doing that because my anchor point is kind of off and I didn't want to redo the animation. So I'm gonna, darn it. So let me actually center my anchor point. I'm just gonna redo this. And I'll just do one of these. Nope. So I'm going to, again, rotation, function F9, come into my graph editor, and I'm going to do the same thing. I don't want it to ease out. I think I'm going to do the opposite here. Just going to try to mess with this a bit. Kind of airbornes. There we go. So then, now I have poof. And if I wanted to put the kettlebell in here, I'd actually have to make another pre-composition. So what I'm going to do really quickly is take this circle pre-comp and just duplicate it. Instead of calling it circle, I'll call it kettle. Check it out. Ready for this. This is the hotkey I wanted to show you because it works for images. I'm going to take the kettlebell image, okay, and then select the layer and hold for the hotkey, Command Option / will replace the image you have selected in your project window with the image you have selected in your composition, and keep the same animation. Great trick, right? I don't have to do more animation. I can just get all these variable things in there. So again, it's Command Option, or if you're on PC, Control Alt / which is the same as the question mark, or you can say question mark. Okay, and then I could come back to logo 2, find the kettle, just drag that in. Where are you, kettle? Why? Where is it? Oh, here. And do the same thing I was doing a second ago. Change pivot point, bam, rotate it, Shazam. Probably need to make this a bit smaller, it's kind of big. Duplicate the layer and put an effect on it, tint, boom, boom, coloring, all that jazz. Okay, putting the green one over here is probably a bad idea. I'll just put it here. Okay, save it. And that's when the animation ends, it's right there. So I'm going to trim my whole composition to right about 6 seconds and 12 frames. So I'll go back to composition, say composition settings, change this to 6 and 12 frames. Or if you don't want to do it this way, you could just trim your work area bar to there, and it won't render anything over here. I don't actually need this. So this is what I got. And it's just going to loop as I watch it. Lots of polishy things that I want to do to it. I want to probably add like a ton more, and I would like to add those little lines. And those little lines, it's just, you can literally just make a pen path that's just trim. That's it. And you can make it a rounded rectangle if you wanted to, and you can mask it. You can do whatever you want to them. There's so many ways you can make trim pathy lines. So if say you're done, I have 2 logos, but if I had 3, it would be a similar method. This is why I have 2 pre-comps that are logo 1 and logo 2, and then I have the render pre-composition. Because what you might guess what I'm going to do, I could take, this is my logo 1, I could just drag the logo 2 pre-composition. This is why I don't like doing the work area bar thing. And just bring it in here, put it to the end of that clip, so now I'm going to have Stunna Shades, Inc. and Tiger Mountain CrossFit. Bring. And I could put my 3rd one after that. Okay, I'm actually going to go into logo 2, and I will actually trim this. So composition settings, 6 seconds, 12 frames. So that in here it'll be shorter. And when you have your 3rd one, just pop it in there. So I'm going to change my work area bar to be at the end of this because I don't have another one. And then you render this. So you can say composition, pre-render, go through the whole process that we've been going over. So I've been using Apple ProRes HQ. I don't have any audio. You're welcome to have audio. And save it in your project folder. Sweet. Questions about this? Well, you have to do 3. Okay. The 2 I've done so far have kind of just been a little bit like changing the level of difficulty, but still kind of like utilizing all the tools that After Effects has. I mean, I would even experiment with doing like a 3D one. Like I've been working with a student, and I think I kind of started doing it with you guys. So if I wanted to create a new composition and call this Logo 3, and I wanted to do like my name, or not even my name, but like my initials. Let's do it like in, let's do white for now. Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick little design. Okay, and I'm going to duplicate. I'm actually going to create a new camera and make this layer 3D so that I want to kind of go to a 3/4 view like this. Okay, and then I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm essentially just going to construct out of 3D shape or out of 2D shapes, or making 3D shapes, a letter. Okay, so I like to, when I do this sort of stuff, I want to make sure my transforms are pretty kind of locked in place pretty well. Maybe not that way, so I'll actually like type in like 90 degrees to flip it, and I need it to be like -90, I think. Said -90. And then I will move this back this way. And you see how it's kind of difficult to really tell whether or not it's like on it. So I'm going to change my views to like a 4 view. Okay, 4 views. So that I can come in here and actually get a gander at this stuff here. So, hey. There we are. So I can actually physically see this is not aligned with this, so I'll just move this back actually, it'll be easier. So now I don't have a seam, but then I will duplicate this one. Okay, and I'm going to rotate it again. So let's just do rotate. I want it to rotate on the Z. -90, it looks like. Because I want it to go forward. So I'm going to move it down this way. I'm just going to look at my front axis. This is where I'm going to determine whether or not it aligns. Kind of snap it. Get as close as I can. Okay. I think I want this to actually be a little shorter. We'll figure it out. So then I'll duplicate this one. You're gonna lose your minds, I swear. Maybe not. Maybe you're just like, I know how to do that. It's not a big deal. So I need to rotate it on the Y, 90. So move it. And then I'm going to scale it up. And then this one I will duplicate and also rotate it. And it rotates on the Y. Nope. On that way. negative 90. Uh-oh, something got rotated. It's weird. Who is it? Oh, it's because it's too far down. All right, I'm just gonna kind of quickly do this last one. Okay, so it's not perfect, but what happens is that now that I have this, so I'm just going to change some colors. Like I'll make this like a light gray. This one, maybe a light gray. Okay, that won't work. Darn, I was hoping. I'll keep that one white. So what it allows me to do is I can still tumble around this and it'll start to feel three-dimensional. But I can also animate these individual elements. I just have to make sure that my pivot points are in the correct spot. So, however I want to animate this, I want this pivot point to actually be over here at the top. Right up here. You'll notice I'm making sure I stick to this because moving in your perspective view is kind of a nightmare. Okay. 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 So what I'm going to do, get ready, is I'm going to keep the scale of all of those right there. Like this is going to be, I'm going to scale out each and every one of these. So at this beginning, they're all going to be 0. Okay, and then eventually, right now they're all going as 1. But what I'm going to do is kind of cascade the animation. Okay, so first you need to figure out which one is the top. So I want this one to happen second. There's the top. Okay. This happens last. This happens second. So it should go something like this. Okay, I actually need one to finish before I can have the next one start. So we're gonna do it like this. So this will happen to there. Actually, these two should go at the same time. So, and then these two should go at the same time. And this one will happen last. The other problem that I'm having is that they're scaling. I want them to kind of not, they're scaling kind of oddly. So, what I'm going to do is fix this, making them all not be linked in their scale. Just turn off those links. And then I need to, I think it's the X to stay 100% in this case. So this should stay 100. And then this should, yeah. So that should come out. And then for this one, this is also X. This one's also X. Nope, not X. It's Y. Yep. I'm just looking at and seeing if it's getting extended. So this one's probably also Y. Nope. And 200? What does it end up being? 289, okay. And then that means this one. Okay. And this one, 100. And then finally, this one's also should be 100. So it's going to happen. That's kind of my goal, was to have them kind of like form in that fashion. What I would love is if these would kind of scale at the same time, but I think they're too different. But the fun thing is, like, now that I have this scaling animation happening, I could also add some rotations to this. So what if, instead of it just kind of easing out or scaling out, what if I was to add kind of a little bit more rotation to it? Like, I'm just gonna, you can kind of look at it, something like this. So it'll start here, or this is going to be where it ends, but then it actually starts at 0. Or at 360. Negative 90? So I need a value to put it in. There we go. So 180 is where it'll start. So I'll do kind of more like this, and I can do the rest. I can do that for all of them. So set this, keep it here. Oops, we'll say it starts at 270. And then this one as well. $180. Oh, no. 0. 180. Nope. Nope. And lastly, so now, kind of keeping it kind of fun. Okay. And the cool thing about all of that is that this is all, I could animate a camera for this as well. So I could have a slightly panning or tilting camera, because I can just come into my camera transforms and just keyframe really everything if I wanted to. And as this is getting built, I could just be tilting around to a differing perspective, making it feel a little bit more like fun and interactive. Okay. So the trick with this one, it feels like architecture because you really have to have your pivot points or your anchor points in the absolute correct location, because if they're incorrect, it's going to make everything past this point impossible. This is why I was like super careful about trying to make sure that they were in a location that I wanted to animate and rotate from. I just need to work on my alignments a little bit more, but it's still pretty straightforward to kind of actually get this working. Okay. So any questions about any of this so far? I just wanted to show you a different option. If you wanted to do something with 3D, like it's kind of fun to be able to construct in this way. So, nothing? Feeling all right? Feeling like you can make some logos pretty quick? Cool. So I was going to give you the rest of the class period to kind of mess around with some of this, ask me any questions you might have. Otherwise, I will see you next class.